Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Reacts. After I posted my video of me ranking all of the Metallica songs from Metallica 72 Seasons, a lot of you guys really enjoyed that video, and a number of you commented saying I should do more of those type of videos, including tier ranking all the Metallica albums, so that's what I'm doing here today. So I'm curious to see if we're going to be similar in our picks, because I'm actually going to post this in the description of this tier list if you guys want to go and make your own tier list. And of course, comment below where you would rank all of these albums from the beginning of their career all the way now to 72 Seasons. So we're going to dive in, and let's just dive in, and let's do it, shall we? So let's not waste any more time. Let's go. So of course I had to put this in order because they were out of order for some reason. So Kill 'Em All, the start of their career, there's a lot of lineup stuff and all that kind of stuff leading to this album. Of course, Dave Mustaine was going to be on this record, then he was re-recorded with Kirk Hammett, all the solos. For me personally, the more I think about it, I think Kill 'Em All is in the A. Now some people say blasphemy, should be S tier. Look, this is the start of their career. They have a long road ahead of them, and I feel like there are definitely better albums, but Kill 'Em All is a fantastic start to their career. Because we're talking Hit the Lights, the opening fucking song, the first song people really ever heard of this band if they went from discography order. And then, of course, you have Whiplash. You have Seek and Destroy. Of course, Metal Militia closing out the album. Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth. Like, so many great moments. And it's a great start. For sure. It's a great start for this band. And Cliff's bass is fantastic. It's overall a great, great album with some fantastic songs. So, for me, personally, it's an A tier. It's honestly one of their best albums, obviously. However, there are definitely better albums for sure. And one of them is going to be Ride the Lightning, which I'm putting in S tier. The Black Sheep, of course, being Escape, is the one thing that isn't amazing. It's an okay song. I've grown to love it, even though it's not the best. But we're talking Creeping Death. We're talking the opening Fight Fire with Fire. Of course, we're talking about fucking The Call of Cthulhu, which to me is one of their best songs they've ever written. And I wish they would play it more. They played it, quite a bit in terms of instrumentals, but I wish they would play it more often because it's so damn epic. And Cliff's bass is fantastic. And there's a whole thing to where the sound of the album in regards to like guitar tone and everything, like there's been discussions of where James Hetfield has said, hey, it wasn't exactly the sound we wanted per se. There was like, I think there was like an issue with like their stuff got stolen or whatever. So there was like a lot of problems, but like Ride the Lightning is a classic. It's a classic album. And for me, like they really stepped up their game in regards to the songwriting from Kill 'Em All to Ride the Lightning. It's just insane how much, and of course Fade to Black, okay, their first actual ballad, and it is fantastic. It's amazing. It's one of those songs where I can never get tired of it, and they really stepped up their game with that second record. Of course, Master of Puppets, okay, no doubt about it. S tier, once again. To a lot of people, this is their magnum opus, their best stuff they've ever written. Some people will argue Injustice for All, some may argue even the Black Album. For me, I think Master of Puppets is their magnum opus, the best they've ever done, in regards to their music, in regards to like them all working together. And of course, it's the last album featuring Cliff, but damn, this thing was impactful. It still is impactful. We're talking Orion, a phenomenal instrumental. We're talking Battery, Master of Puppets, the thing that should not be. We're talking Sanitarium. I almost said Sandman for some reason. Sanitarium. Of course, we're talking Leper Messiah, Disposable Heroes. Yeah, flip those, yeah. And then, of course, Damage Inc., which is a fantastic closer. This album just gets the praise it does because of how great it is. It is an album that stands the test of time, in my opinion, and people consider it one of the greatest metal albums of all time, and rightfully so. The band crushed it here. Now we're getting into Injustice for All, which once again is another album that stands the test of time, and there's a couple of controversies regards, of course, Jason Newsted's bass, but to me it's an S tier album. It's an S tier album. It's an album that is insane in its songwriting. The production is the one thing that people have a debate on forever in regards to, because there's a lot of people that debate saying that regardless of the production issues in regards to Jason's bass not being heard at all, of course you can hear versions where people have turned up Jason's bass, you can hear it in the remixes or what people fan remasters, but a lot of people say that this album, the sound of it is so out there and it is so unique in what it was. And the fact you can hear every single time Lars kicks that bass drum, which is something that previously it's here and there throughout the 3 records up to this point now being the 4th, but the sound was just ahead of its time. It was, I think this album, in terms of its sound, like minus the bass issue being really, really low in the mix, the sound of this album, I think, has influenced a lot of bands, you know, even up to today, in terms of the intensity, the rawness, the heaviness. I think this album is still an influence. Now we're coming to the Black Album. So the Black Album, to me, is an album that it took me some time to really grasp and to love, because going from these first 4 records, it's like, it's not a complete departure from what they were doing, but it's kind of out there. For me, the Black Album, and some people say this is blasphemy, I think it's an A. It could be an S. I want to stick with A for right now. I think it's an A album. I think that the band wanted to course correct because they were going too complex with Injustice for All. So the Black Album, they took a big step back in terms of the complex nature of their writing of their songs. But they also found a whole new audience with this album because of the epic and insane quality of its production, which is still boggles my mind how the production of this album that was released decades ago sounds as good or even better as modern metal albums that come out today because of the production that Bob Rock did. And I think it's just a mix of Bob Rock's production and the actual songs they wrote. I mean, we're talking, of course, Enter Sandman, which is a global phenomenon. A song that I feel like it's overplayed, but I get it. The reason why it's overplayed because it's fucking Enter Sandman, so I get that. We're also talking songs, My Friend in Misery, which is a song that I feel like is underrated, that deserves more attention. The Struggle Within, which is a song that at first I'm like, this is the closer, but then I grew to love The Struggle Within. Of course, we have Nothing Else Matters, Holier Than Thou, The God That Failed. You have these great songs on this album, and for me, it just took some time, but damn, it's a fucking great album. So now we're getting to the Load and Reload era. Now, for me, the Load and Reload era took longer for me to get into versus the Black Album, comparing to the first 4 records of this intense thrash that they were doing. But to me, the Load and Reload albums are fucking great. And for me, I'm just going to put them both up now. Load and Reload to me are A. Now, some people say, whoa, wait a minute, Kill 'Em All, Black Album, they're both an A, so you're putting Load and Reload? For me, I'm a fan of pretty much all of Metallica's discography. We're going to get to some, discussions later with 2, but in regards to Load and Reload, Reload is, I think, weaker, but still has some great stuff, so I'm going to stick with A. I may move it to B because there are, I think I'll move it to B. Because Reload has some fantastic stuff, but it doesn't reach it to A the more I think about it, because Load, I think, had more of these great, great songs. The Outlaw, Torn, Hero of the Day, Bleeding Me, Devil's Dance. I think Devil's Dance was on Load, right? Was it? Maybe it was. Maybe it was on Reload. Sorry, it's been a morning. But Load had more of these songs that really stood out after I really started to understand. Because it took me a while to go, really, this, they went from this over here, this older stuff, to this in the mid-90s. But then I fell in love. And of course with Reload, people, there's this whole thing Metallica said, hey, it's not the leftovers from Reload. They were going to put it out as one double album, but it just didn't happen or whatever. But for me, it's like Reload has some songs that are definitely weaker that I feel like they could have easily left off and just made Load like a double album with just lesser songs overall. But Reload has fucking Fixer. Okay, Reload has Fixer. Okay, that's like that alone just raises it up pretty damn high. But Reload has some good stuff on it. But Load is the one that I think is the better record. Reload, I really wish they would have just found a way to maybe, cut it down a little bit, but it is what it is. It's still a good record with some lesser tracks, but still, Reload definitely, I think, doesn't need to be down in the C or D level, but it could have been cut. So we have Garage Inc. here. Now, of course, this is a covers record, double record, really. Well, one full CD, and then the second is a bunch of other covers they put on that has been released throughout the years. For me, Garage Inc., I think, deserves A. For me personally, because Metallica has proven over the years, leading up to Garage Inc., before Garage Inc., with their other covers they put out with EPs and stuff and just singles, they've proven that they are so fucking good at covers and making the songs feel like their own. But obviously, they're not trying to say that these are their songs, but they've done such a great job with it. Of course, we're talking about Lover Man. We're talking about Astronomy, which is a song I wish they would fucking play live. We're talking about the King Diamond Merciful Fate. Well, it's Merciful Fate melody, not the King Diamond, but same thing. Merciful Fate melody, like, which is a phenomenal 11-minute track that just goes on for fucking ever. And Turn the Page, of course. And then, of course, the other covers in terms of, like, Die Die My Darling, which was, of course, released before this, but it was all compiled finally onto Garage Inc. as a second disc. But, and, of course, you know, Green Hell, which is a phenomenal song they don't play often from the Misfits. And, of course, So What? So, for me, Garage Inc. was a great way for them to pay homage to the bands that they grew up loving and they wanted to shine a light on, essentially. I mean, their cover of Am I Evil brought Diamond Head back to playing live back in the 90s. It was like in the 80s, 90s, but they brought Diamond Head back because how popular Metallica was performing Am I Evil, Diamond Head came back. He started performing again because of Metallica. So Garage Inc. is a great covers record, definitely listen to. St.Anger. Look, I have a mixed thing. I have a mixed feeling with this album. I'm going to go with C. I could put D, but I got to be honest and go C, and here's why. The reason why St.Anger is on C and not D is because of some of the actual songs. Not all of them, some. Unnamed Feeling, Frantic, Some Kind of Monster, just to name a few. There's a couple of more. But St.Anger as a whole, even the St.Anger title track, they're decent songs. Sometimes they're pretty solid. The production is what holds them back. If the production wasn't the way it is, and I understand at the time, this is what they had to do. Or this is what they were, you know, they were going through a lot. So this album coming out the way it is the way it is, right? The timing of it or whatever. But if the production was fixed and the snare was actually turned on in this production, because Bob Rock produced this fucking record and he's the one who produced Black Album, the Black Album, and he went from the Black Album to this. But this is what Metallica wanted at the time. If Metallica would have actually put out St.Anger with decent quality production, the way it is with quality production and the snare turned on, this would definitely probably be higher, because I think some of the songs that I don't like on this record, like, is it called My World or something, whatever, of course, Invisible Kid, stuff like that, it's like, I would probably tolerate them more if the fucking production wasn't the way they is. But St.Anger, at the time, yeah, I'd rather listen to remaster or, like, people trying to fix the songs. Because there's a remix of The Unnamed Feeling, which is so good, because it actually tries to fix some of the production issues. Death Magnetic. I gotta go with A on this. The only thing that's holding this album, I think, back, I mean, it could be a B, but for me, I think it has some great songs. That Was Just Your Life is a phenomenal opener. The End of the Line, going into that as the second track, is a great transition from the first to second. I remember seeing them live in 2009. That Was Just Your Life into The End of the Line was phenomenal to see live. The Judas Kiss, they played that song for me at my 2009 show, which is a great song. That fucking chorus is phenomenal. Suicide and Redemption, I feel like needs to be a shorter. I'm glad they did an instrumental. I want them to do another one. Don't feel like it's ever going to happen again. But Suicide and Redemption should have been shorter because it's too damn long and there's a lot of too much repetitive moments, but it was still overall a good instrumental for sure. The Day That Never Comes, I think, to me, it's underrated compared to like Fade to Black and One and Sanitarium, but you get what I'm saying. It's still a pretty damn good ballad. But overall, Death Magnetic, I feel like, deserves an A. The only thing also holding back as well is the fact that the production of it. Thankfully, you can find better productions of fans fixing some of the production issues, because the wall of sound where everything's just turned up to the fucking high heavens with everything on the record. And there's actually even an official release from the Guitar Hero when they put this album out for Guitar Hero 3 DLC. They sent the album out early before it was final in terms of its production and mastering and everything. And that quality from Guitar Hero 3 of this album is better than the actual release. So there is an official release out there from Guitar Hero, but you can find fan stuff. But I mean, Death Magnetic, it's an homage to their first 4 records, and they did a pretty damn good job with it. Lulu. Now, see, I'm putting this down here in D because realistically, this shouldn't be on the list. I understand why it is, because of the fact it's a conversation piece, really. Do you include Lulu a part of Metallica's discography? I don't know if they do officially count it as part of their discography, because it's a collaboration with Lou Reed, and so it's technically not a Metallica album, even though they're credited. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's kind of it's a thing to where if you remove Lou Reed and just have James Hetfield singing on this entire record instead of Lou Reed, then yes, it's a Metallica record. But that's not the case at all. They just went in and collaborated with Lou Reed and everything, and it was already kind of like figured out what Lou Reed was going to be doing in terms of, I guess, the lyrics or whatever. I think that's correct. But for me, I'm not really going to be counting it on this list. So I'm just going to put it so it's kind of there, right? Hardwired to Self-Destruct. This is an album that I think over time has really stood its place in regards to its writing. Of course, we have Hardwired opening the album. Of course, we Spit Out the Bone closing the album. Am I Savage? We have Halo on Fire, which is a great ballad song. And just some great stuff. Atlas Rise. You know, we have some great songs. For me, I think it's an A album. I think it's an album that I think is going to be looked at as a good, like, mix of their first couple albums, but more so a mix of, you know, the Black Album and some, you know, forms of Load and Reload in terms of the structure. And that's the same thing with 72 Seasons as well. But to me, Hardwired to Self-Destruct is an album that I think people are going to look back on as this was still a good era of Metallica. And same thing with 72 Seasons. I'm going to go with 72 Seasons at being an A album as well. You know, the more I think about it, it's like these last two records from Metallica have been really good. And, you know, 72 Seasons, like, the songs that have really grown on me have continued to grow. And the majority of the album, I think, is pretty damn good. And I think that's the thing with Hardwired to Self-Destruct as well, is that at the time when I first heard these songs, there was a couple that didn't really click, and now they have, or unfortunately, now that we're dead, that's just the one song off Hardwired I don't really listen to much. I just don't really like it. But for 72 Seasons, the majority of the songs I've listened to quite a bit since reacting to them, and then, of course, doing my tier ranking for all the songs. But this is where I'm pretty much happy with this, I think. Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All being S. A, Kill 'Em All, Black Album, Load, Metallica's Garage Inc., Death Magnetic, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and 72 Seasons. B, Reload. C, St.Anger. And D, I'm not even really including Lulu. Who cares? Because I'm not really including it per se. But this is my list. You know, this is my list. Some of you guys will probably disagree and go, holy shit, I can't believe you fucking ranked that there. But this is all personal preference. That's the thing I've been kind of, you know, relaying in terms of people's comments saying, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what? Like, music hits us differently. Music hits all of us very differently. So this is where I am. And if you were to ask me in another month or so to rank this again and not for me to look back on this video, I probably would rank it a little bit differently. Who's to say? Because the albums shift a little bit. But in terms of where the S tier is, that's pretty consistent. Kill 'Em All can be placed in the S tier, for sure. And some of you will probably disagree with me putting it in A. But this is where I'm at. And some of you are saying Black Album should be S tier. And look, it's a fucking fantastic record. It is. But to me, it's not perfect. It's not my perfect Metallica. I still really love it. I do. But it's not S-tier material for me at the moment, because things change. Probably at the time when I feel like finally started to love, you know, Black Album, maybe I would put an S-tier at that time, years ago. But this is where I'm at the moment. I'm curious to know where you guys would rank all the Metallica albums from S to D. I guess you want to go that far down, S, A, B, C, D. Whatever thoughts you have, guys, about my video, and let me know, of course, in the comments below how you would rank the Metallica albums. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out.